It's Jackie, and this is the Natural Healing Reel, the podcast that heals. Today, my guest is Deborah Anderson, and she has great life information for us. She is living a life that she probably wouldn't have been able to step forward with as an LA jazz singer and a #1 album on the charts. Really, really an impressive lady. She's the host of the DiabeticReal. And she also has socialwebcafe.com, which she shares her life views and experiences about what's going on. Nice to have you here today. You come in from the LA area.
Thank you for having me, Jackie. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this. It's so good that we can finally connect.
Yeah, totally. Thanks.
Life gets so busy. Wow, it goes by so fast. Do you remember when you were a kid and it was like, oh, wow, Christmas is coming in 6 months. And it felt like it took forever to get to like Christmas or something. And now it's like, whoa, 3 Christmases have passed.
Do you know what? It's so crazy, isn't it? I do think back to being a kid and having those days go on. And now days go by and you're like, wow, what day is it? They do say that the energies of the universe have sped up. I think that does play a part in it. But I remember people saying when you're 18, all of a sudden things move along really fast. And they did.
Yep. I keep looking at projects that I want to do, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what happened? It's the end of the day. All right, that project's going to get done tomorrow. And then like 3 weeks passed. And how come I couldn't even start that project?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. I so get that. So the host of the DiabeticReal, that is something where you're sharing your life and journey of going through and understanding how to really stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. And for a long time, I'm sorry, if I'm starting to tear up, I cry easily for one thing.
I do too.
For another thing, it's emotional. It's, to me, starting DiabeticReal as a podcast, it's raw. I'm digging down and I'm actually sharing stuff that I hid for a long time. It feels like when you say hid, like you're not being authentic. But I was in the work world. I was in corporate America. I'm working, with traders in the stock market, New York, the whole thing. And it's like what is that commercial from the 70s? Never let them see you sweat, kind of a thing. So I didn't even want to let people know I was diabetic. I mean, I had to at work in case anything happened, but I only wanted to let a couple of people know. But definitely don't let anyone know that that's a big thing or that anything could.
You have a weakness.
Right, exactly. So it's like kind of let them know, just in case. It's like, hey, by the way, I have type 1 diabetes, but no worries, whatever. So I went through my whole career. I certainly never let anyone know in an interview. And of course, with HIPAA laws, you didn't have to disclose anything. So I spent my work life, keeping a secret, keep it secret. So after long story short, I ended up being diagnosed with epilepsy. It kind of triggered later in life based on hormones. I was forced to retire with a disability, we'll put it that way. So I'm no longer in corporate America, but that's okay because, the way it worked out, I could do this project as far as DiabeticReal. So I thought, well, now, since I can no longer work in corporate America, I don't have to keep this a secret. And if I don't have to keep it a secret, now it's time to actually help other people. I always wanted to help other people, but it's like I couldn't. How do you help other people when you're keeping the diabetic part secret? So while I'm still here on Earth, and I don't know how long that is. I don't know why I'm still here on Earth, Jackie. It's like there's so many times I've almost died. And then I look at other people and I think they're 20 years younger. Why are they no longer? Like yesterday, I have this TikTok live and there's this gal her name is Faith. And she joins me a lot and she's 17 years old. And she has this younger sister. We just call her Sis. She came on yesterday and she said, I have news to share. And I said, well, here, come live and talk. She goes, no, I can't come live. She's never said that. She says, Sis died. And I couldn't keep going. I wanted to cancel the live stream. I started crying. I'm like, you can't. Sis is, I'm just guessing, like 13. She's younger than Faith. So she's just a young kid. And I'm looking at this going, how is it that young people, maybe she had an illness. I don't know. But young people younger than me die. I'm still here and I've got diabetes and epilepsy. So for some reason, I'm still here on Earth. If I'm still here on Earth, then this DiabeticReal, I need to be helping other people. I need to be sharing what I've learned about still being alive, so that even if I'm not here tomorrow, people can learn from the podcast what I've learned, what journey I've gone through. So it's like I'm sharing all these stories of maybe the almost dying, like most I was telling you before we came live, the most recent podcast where I was sharing what I call the Pasadena story, and that happened. I mean, what I say, 20. I gotta think how old I am. It's like 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago, where I did die twice in the ambulance. And as I was sharing with you, Jackie, you have to know your body, but also you have to surround yourself with people that are supportive and people that want to keep you alive. I was actually staying, as I said in the podcast, with a friend. It was actually my sister, but she left to go to work, and she left me unconscious. And when she came back, and this is in the podcast, and this is also in the police reports, when she came back, she went to a neighbor to remove my lifeless body. And the neighbor said, no, 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 this is how it's written up in the police report, my lifeless body. The neighbor said, no, 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 we're calling 911. And there were a couple fire trucks from the police report. This is what it says. And my husband read the police report because later there was a second attempt that she had, and the FBI were involved. And the FBI had the police report from the Pasadena story and showed it to my husband. So my husband read it. So, I mean, there's several witnesses to this beyond the several people involved. But anyway, the ambulance, I died twice in the ambulance. They got me to the hospital, which wasn't very far away. This was Pasadena. If you look at a map where Pasadena is and then Santa Monica, they helicoptered a diabetologist, which is a specialist, a endocrinologist that specializes in diabetes, helicoptered her across Los Angeles to the hospital, ICU, to try to save my life, which she did. Thank God. I mean, thank the universe. This was somehow meant to stay alive. Well, the ambulance drivers didn't believe it. By the time I got out of ICU, I'm on the whatever the it is before you actually get discharged, because you don't get discharged right out of ICU. The ambulance drivers came because they said, there's no way you lived through that. You died in the ambulance. You didn't live through that. And I'm over here like bouncing on the bed going, well, it wasn't my time, all this. So first of all, it was a minister that had told me to stop taking my insulin. And for some reason, I listened to the minister. For anyone listening to this podcast, don't listen to your body, listen to your doctors, for pity's sake. Don't just stop taking insulin because someone says, hey, you're healed, stop taking insulin. No, 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 no. You got to know who you're listening to. And since then, I've thought the healing comes from other, not because some person said, I'm a minister and God told me that you're healed. No, that didn't work out because I almost died. So I've learned since then that I've got to know myself where that's from. And I that I was paying attention and that I understood diabetic ketoacidosis, and my blood sugars didn't read high, but meanwhile, my body was actually dying. And so now I've learned how to listen to my body and also know not to listen to other people that say things like, stop taking your insulin.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, did you have any idea that your relationship with your sister was that toxic, or?
I didn't. What I told myself was, and I don't want to call people dumb. I just thought she must. I think because I didn't know about the police report saying that. Now the I don't know if it's the district attorney or the county attorney really pressured me to actually press charges. And actually, what happened is I went completely unconscious. She went to work, left me unconscious. And somehow, that's why I think this is like a miracle or something. Somehow I came to enough thinking, oh, I got to call to work and say I'm not going to work. I'm calling in sick. So I picked up the phone, and the only reason I knew the number, because I couldn't see, been going blind off and on, and most of the night I was blind. See, she should have taken me to the hospital. When I'm blind and I was vomiting constantly, she wouldn't let me have water. So when she wasn't looking, I'd go get water. She wouldn't let me have a cup to get water because she didn't like it that I was vomiting. So she didn't want me to vomit in her house. And I was staying with her because I was worried about my health. She was supposed to be taking care of me. So I went and got a huge bowl. I was so thirsty from the diabetic ketoacidosis. I filled it with water when she wasn't looking. I mean, it's a bowl of water. I was that thirsty. Went in, of course, I vomited it right back out. I couldn't keep any water, so I was dehydrated, and it just getting worse. But I was unconscious. She left me to go, and the only reason I knew the number to work was because I wasn't at like a switchboard, but a lot of times the switchboard used to transfer numbers to me when they didn't know what to do with the people that would call in. I worked at Countrywide, and I would give that number out so often, constantly. So that number was like burned into my memory. So even though I couldn't see the phone, it was like by touch, I kind of did the number. Well, I called in, a secretary answered, and she's like, Deb sounds drunk. Deb doesn't drink. Why does she sound drunk? Because I was so, of course, groggy. And she transferred the phone call to another person who was married to a diabetic. And her name was Karen. And Karen saved my life. I mean, Karen was like, oh, no, no, no. Deb is dying. She's actually diabetic ketoacidosis, and she is dying. She needs help right now. She says, we got to call her sister. And so she didn't know because I couldn't talk. I passed out at that point, and I didn't come to until after I was at the ICU. But she says, we have to get a hold of Deb's sister. She didn't know I was at my sister's house because I didn't live with my sister. So she left a message because she couldn't get a hold of my sister. Well, my sister then thought, I better check messages. And she heard the message, and she didn't want anyone then, because then the word's out. If anyone found my dead body at her house, she's in trouble. So that's when she decided to go home, get rid of the evidence so she wouldn't get in trouble. That's my thought in hindsight. But at the time, I thought my sister couldn't do that. She's not that intelligent. That's what I told myself. So Karen was so angry with me for not, she was worried about me, but she's so angry that I didn't press charges against my sister. And I just kept thinking, no, my sister's just got to be, but when my sister started having children, and that was 10 years later, when she started having children, it hit me. It was like a lightning bolt hit me. And I thought, if she's that dumb, her kids would be dead. Because anyone that has that low of an IQ, I'm not picking on anyone with that low of an IQ, but if you have that low of an IQ that you could accidentally let your sister die, you're going to accidentally do something to kill your kid. She has 4 kids. They've all reached adulthood. So all of a sudden that equation, it's not, and that's when I realized it was too late to press charge. But also there's other attempts too. And that's why the FBI got involved. And it was like, something's wrong here. So
That bizarre. She's obviously a little bit jealous or something of you. Get
something, yeah.
Get rid of her, then I can get all the probably what's going on there. I don't know.
That's why some of the stuff I shared, which I'm not going to share publicly, but the thing I talked about location and things like that, that's why, is because basically we had to live in hiding. We were offered the opportunity for WITSEC because of her. So I had the opportunity to share with my father, and my mother can't handle it. But my father, he thinks it's maybe the people with her, not necessarily her, because of course it's for a father to
Absolutely
to accept that. So, but he's like, I won't let. It's cute. He's almost 90. He's like, I will protect you. And he's thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. But I told him, I said, she tries a 4th time, and I will press charges. So, just tell her to stay away from me. And I haven't talked to her since shortly after the 3rd attempt. And, I forgive her.
say that she's like a narcissist then?
I don't know what it is, because we were actually close before that.
No compassion, right? And what I've learned through kind of my journey is that there's the narcissistic people that can hurt and intentionally do that with no, like, obviously that wasn't bothering her for her to do it again. Makes me wonder if she's narcissistic, which
I think so. I think
passion, and then that's I don't know. It's hard to understand those that people can do that, but
it's hard because when you're not that type, like I think that she's a sociopath, even though that is not. I actually studied psychology. I'm one class away from my doctorate, and I know that technically speaking, psychopaths and sociopaths do not exist. They're not in the DSM-5. Anything like that. So it's not a real diagnosis. And also I don't have the authority to diagnose, but I mean, I that she has that,
something.
I think that, yeah, because, and interesting too, because her daughter reached out to me. And so and tried to be really respectful. Her daughter's an adult and reached out to me in counseling. I've never met my niece in person because I've stayed away from the family, and I tried to help her. And there's something that happened. I had compassion on my sister. I mean, I don't hate her. I forgave her, but I don't think it's safe for me ever to see her again or be around her. So it makes it interesting as far as we can't have family gatherings, and that kind of thing. So like I went back to Minnesota where I'm from. I hadn't been back for 20 years, and aunts and uncles, cousins were just thrilled they hadn't seen me. I have a great relationship with all the extended family, but it makes it very difficult because of course they have a hard time. There are a few people who know they have a hard time, most of them can say, yeah, we can see that. Pretty much everyone that knows me, it's like, yeah, we see that.
Yeah, I think that it's a crazy thing that when you go to share something that's happening like that, a lot of people, they just, well, it's hard for you or, to fathom that that's even happening, right? Or to accept that that's actually happening. But yeah, then to share that with other people, it's almost too much for them.
Well, it's now I just share it and laugh about it only because, it's how other people take it. It's like, they're like, what did you say? And then, because to me, it's old, I guess it's old news. But when I first realized it, it was almost 10 years to the date. And it was like a lightning bolt hit me. And I'm like, oh my good, she really did. Because I didn't accept it for 10 years. And I started to shake. And I just remember like falling on the bed as far as it was so massive as far as, and then it took a little while and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then the other attempts and everything. And then finally, it took a little bit to finally gel and accept it. And it's like, this is my life. This is what happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. As I did, Annie Alexander, she's a doctor and a hypnotherapist, and just like through your soul's lineage as well. So she gets right to the root of where it started. And I don't know if you believe or whatever, but just the explanation that our souls have been in many lifetimes and that we're carrying stuff from past lives. And for myself, I was going through a real intense, long situation, kind of like yours, but very, different, obviously. But just it's like I just need to not have that experience anymore with relationships. And I could see just this pattern. It's this pattern that I will find. And so common denominator. Anyway, so there's a bunch of past life stuff that I have brought in to deal with from a past life. So it kind of, I don't know, it has to accept, the craziness or whatever of relationships that and then just to be able to forgive and just see it from a different perspective is, because it's crazy, right? I mean, it's
I think that's key too, the forgiveness part of it. I think that's key because it's releasing yourself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
It is, right? I think it's huge. It's everything, isn't it? That whole, because when we're holding that and we're holding the trauma and we're holding that energy, it's fear. And then we're apparently attracting more, or I was attracting more of the same, looks different, sounds different. Yep. It's of that same vibration. And it's pretty deep stuff to be able to, I don't know, wrap your head around why that is happening in our life, too. Like, how is that thing? Because it's normal.
Well, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just not, I
tried to figure out what, because I thought I had a really good relationship with my sister. So I think it is jealousy, like you said, but I don't know what I have a great relationship with my dad, and I think maybe she's jealous of that she wanted that kind of relationship. But part of it is I have a great relationship with my dad, and I think it's because I don't have any relationship with my mother. I hate to say that, but I don't know that she's capable of loving anyone. I think that's an illness, and she doesn't have any love for me. I'm not angry with her for it. She just doesn't, and I accept that. So I try to be there for her, call her, her birthday, take care of her, because I try to be a good human being for. But I just try to accept that she's not capable of loving me. And so I feel like I was like that ugly duckling kind of a thing. And she always talked about the kids, which meant my brother and sister who are older than me. and kind of left me out. Like I was over here. And so I even look at pictures. I can see it in pictures. So my dad kind of scooped me up. And so it was always like my mother and the two kids, and then my dad and me. And then, yeah. And then my mother was always about, oh, this is my son, my son, my son. So now you've got this older sister over here. She doesn't, you've got the mother and the son, and you've got the father and the daughter. And who does she have? And the only thing I can figure out is that made her jealous of me. And it's like, get rid of her, and maybe I can have the dad,
Sorry.
I don't know. It's just a theory. It's the only thing I can figure out is if I'm gone, then she's got dad. I don't know.
That dynamic, I think, plays out in a lot of families, because that dynamic was definitely in our home. And my sister was my dad's, and there, and my sister and my mom ended up not having a good relationship, and there was definite like stuff going on, right? And how it's so crazy, right? Like the dynamic of that, but that's obviously what's affected for sure. Like,
And I think it's people that instead of trying to just accept it, like, I mean, I would love to have a mother that loved me. And I was always searching for a mother that loved me. And my mother-in-law loved me, like, I mean, completely unconditionally. She was wonderful. She's passed now, but I'm thinking, well, I feel like those type, I had that replacement mother, and I'm very thankful for my ex-mother-in-law. Because I mean, even when she was ex, she loved my husband as well. So I mean, she was still in my life. So I feel like I had that mother. It wasn't my biological mother, but that's okay.
absolutely, to just have that unconditional love is huge, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that from what I understand now from all of the podcasts and the learning that I have been able to absorb, is that it all comes from our family home. Like it all comes from the 0 to 5 or 7 years, and our dynamics within there, we then take out. And yeah, it's wild stuff. It's the diabetes. Is that been, if it's diabetes 1, is that like, were you born with that?
Um, I kind of wonder if I fell out of the buggy when I was 1.5. And it's funny because you know how memories are not, they usually go back to like when you're 3, but I do remember that it's foggy, but it's very distinct. I guess my mother kept telling me to sit down in the buggy, and I didn't listen. I just play. I wanted to, it makes me feel really guilty about it. And my husband keeps reminding me, your mother should have strapped you in. You should have been like, it was it's not like Walmart. I can't remember what the store was called, but it was a Walmart. And yeah, like it wasn't a cave. It was like up in Canada, and it was in near, so it was like Three Hills, and I can't remember what the store was, but I used to know it was, but anyway, but it was like that, like Kmart or Walmart or that kind of store. But my husband reminds me, it's not all your guilt, because she should have been more responsible. You're a baby, you want to play. She should have put you somewhere and strapped you in, but she kept saying sit down, whatever, and I kept standing up. I tipped the whole buggy over, and it was like concrete floor, and she didn't take me to the hospital. My aunt was with me, and my aunt kept saying, we need to take her to the hospital. And I wish she had, because I think they could have done some surgery. We think, in all the research we've done, we think that's what triggered the type 1 diabetes, and now the epilepsy is some kind of head injury from that, because the type 1 doesn't respond like it was genetic, but it didn't actually show up until I was 6. So I wasn't born with it. Also, the other thing too is I have a huge family, and no one else had type 1 diabetes. So if it was genetic or something I was born with, and even my kids, I kept, we had the neonatal was ready, because like, oh no, she's going to have kids that have type 1 diabetes. Nope, nothing. It has not shown up in any. Now, I have a cousin that got it at 18, but he had gone to some other, you can get it as far as like a triggered by a virus type thing. He'd gone to some missionary type, he'd gone to some places where it probably was triggered. So it is possible to catch it. You can't one, but it is possible, as far as if you're in some places. I mean, I'm here describing all this. People should do their research. There's like a 3 diabetes. So I'm not sure that this was completely genetic. There was like a propensity, but I think it was triggered by the fall when I hit my head.
was then. If that's what intuitive hit is, then that's probably exactly what happened there, right? And then the epilepsy, it was like a byproduct of it. And
Mhm.
so, have you heard of that methylene blue?
That sounds familiar. Why does that sound so familiar? I feel like I looked that up, but I didn't finish looking that up.
Yeah, you need to have a look at it. Chase Hughes is the guy on, he's like I don't know what he is, but he's very educated in neurology and all that. But
Hmm.
he is like a special, he can read the body language, and he's
Hmm.
hypnosis and stuff. And I believe he worked for the government or the military and helped debrief people and kind of find out if they're lying, or anyway, he explains all about hypnosis and how the brain works. And but what happened while he was doing that, he saw himself on a podcast, and he was having like 9 seizures a day, but
Wow.
didn't know, his family knowing that he's like, has a whole education, is neurology, and what he does, just assumed that he would know, but he had some kind that was, he doesn't remember. And
Hmm.
so he was watching himself and was like, holy cow. And so it's pretty great, but through natural path. And I think even our Robert Kennedy Jr. and a whole bunch of people taken, it's like blue dye, but
Hmm.
he does not have any seizures anymore. His brain was eating itself, like it was dying.
Ooh.
And yeah, like it was intense. And so yeah, it's really interesting information. We all started taking it here because I had lots and lots of trauma and a couple of really bad concussions, and nervous system on overdrive, and just yeah, so it just actually feeds all the cells, and it's like 120-year-old medicine that I think it was on the top 3 for viruses and parasites and all
I
kinds of.
gotta look that up. Wow.
It's pretty, yeah. And then he also, his naturopath, who I believe is in Florida area. He just looks like a wild, funky dude, like just really hip, right? He's just really, um, and anyway, he shares quite a bit of information. So there's just a lot of good knowledge there.
Hmm.
But if that's happening, might be something that could heal that for you.
I'll have to look that up. I did find a neurologist that finally, because I was having 1 to 2 seizures per month, and then I found this excellent neurologist that finally found a medicine that stopped it. But in addition to that, and this is where I really believe that you have to listen to your body. You can't. I mean, it's good to listen to doctors, and I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to doctors. Like obviously, in my case with type 1, I need insulin, and I'm not listening to ministers telling me to not take insulin, that kind of thing. So, and I'm not telling you, hey, you have faith, whatever, that's your business, But for
No,
me
it's
personally,
an authority like that. You think that they know, but they don't.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I do my insulin, but there's a lot of things like, for instance, I compliment it, say, I'm probably 50-50 because for one thing, in pain, I take kratom, and that works really well to cut the pain on that one. It doesn't have any side effects or anything like that, even though there's a lot of anti-kratom stuff. That's a whole nother discussion, but that helps. And but I listen to my body. Like for the seizures, when I was starting to feel seizure prone, even though the medicine helps, I eat peanut butter and that would ward off a seizure. And I told him that, and he's like, I've never heard of that, but it's like it works. When I was starting to feel a seizure, I'd go eat the peanut butter, and body was craving protein. It needed protein, and I had the peanut butter, and the peanut butter has that protein, and it's quicker than trying to go cook something or whatever. So I just grabbed it, started taking a couple spoonfuls, and that stopped. And I don't know how I knew that, except that it was like my body was telling me
It's
you need
craving.
protein and you need it right now or you're going to go into seizure. And I did that. I told my neurologist, he's like, I've never heard of that. Like, I don't know. My body just kind of told me that and it worked. So, yeah. So lately it's like enough of the other medicine is in there, and I'm making sure that my food has a lot of protein. So I've been balancing that out. So I haven't had to go, but I keep protein close by, just like I keep sugar soda close by for the diabetes. So it's like everything, I just keep it balanced, close by. But I mean, I really, really like in the DiabeticReal podcast, it's like you've got to listen to your body. Your body will tell you what you need if you're listening.
Yeah. Yeah. And ask like the ones, right? And if you do
Mhm.
just ask, then the answers do come sometimes
Yep.
way, but if you ask like show me louder, make it more pronounced what the answer is here for me. It's funny how we will, receive the answers if we're asking and wanting to know.
And something I think it's other people will say, oh, you're crazy. You're listening to your body. You just need to listen to doctors and that's all. And again, I'm not shouldn't listen to doctors, but I think you need to have a balanced approach that you're listening to both, but definitely don't ignore your body because your body doesn't need to read a textbook to tell you. Your body is the one that actually knows what's going on.
Right. And I believe that, we go into fear. And so when there is like a medical or a crisis in our bodies, that's what we do. We depend on somebody outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
And you're right. Like, I think, to a degree, of course, they know, and for surgeries, blah, 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 but it's all within us, right?
Well, it's like with I'll show up. I should clean it before I show up at I'm on a pump. And I hope that my endocrinologist is not watching this, and she's probably not, but I go to my endocrinologist and she's really upset that I'm not running the pump exactly according to like the pump diet or, the pump book, if you will. Exactly. But I run it literally according to what my body does. And I keep the numbers. If you look at like the stats on the pump, I keep the numbers right in. I mean, they're like in upper percentage, close to 100. It's not 100, but it's really close. And I'm really tight on the blood sugars, but I'm not running exactly the way I'm supposed to according to the the documentation. So I try to like she only looks at maybe the last week. I try to remember right before I go to go see her to switch it back to the way she wants it. Because otherwise she literally yells at me. And it's like, but if I run it the way she wants it, my blood sugars are high.
Wow.
And then she gets mad and it's like, okay, then I have to come back every month. I have to prove to her that I can run it the way she wants it. So it's a game to me and it's silly because it's like, look, do I do it the way you say and then I'm unhealthy? Or do I do it the way my body I can sense what my body needs. And when I my body and I run this pump, according to what my body's saying, it runs smoothly and my blood sugars are wonderful. So who do I listen to? Do I listen to my body or my endocrinologist?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I think that there's so much about that, right?
Yep.
There's
So
so
yes, I admit games. I listen to my body until right a week before the appointment.
Oh goodness, I think that that's awesome that you do that. And what is like a way that you're able to like tap into what's going on? Like, is there something that you do to help yourself more in tune with your body that way?
I know this is weird, but it's like a gut feeling. It's like when I'm the insulin amount, it's like a gut feeling. I mean, maybe it's God speaking to me. Maybe it just, and it's usually right. I mean, I haven't ever had it wrong. So somehow it works. And however you want to it, whether it's God speaking to me, whether it's a gut feeling, whether it's however you want to put a label on that one. It's like when I need insulin, there is an algorithm that I can use and I know how to use that. But a lot of times I will just look at it and just know the right amount to bring the blood sugar down. I also do have things set up in the pump that if it's too much insulin, the pump will stop. So, I mean, if there's ever something off on that, I do have, a backup on that one. So that's helpful.
So is diabetes, is that like a lifer? Is that the diabetes one that's like your body
Yeah.
is not producing the insulin? Is that what's happening there? Or yeah.
Yep. I used to say the pancreas is taking up space, and then I found out the pancreas, like what, this thin, it's like a really thin little little thing there, so it's not taking up very much space, but it's not doing anything. It does. I think it has some benefits hormonally speaking, so they don't remove it, but it's not producing any insulin. So the type 2 does still produce insulin, and you can do it and hopefully manage it to a point where you don't need any insulin shots at all. But the type 1, I almost wish they'd have two different labels for that one, but no, the type 1 is a lifelong thing. So you have that, I've had people say, well, if you did this and this and this, then you wouldn't have it anymore. And it's like, no, that's type 2. Type 1, you're stuck with it. That's it. You've got it for life.
Yeah, and
So,
it's different. Like it's the type 2 anyway, isn't it? Like
yeah,
the
it's very different. That's why I said I wish 2 different labels, because you get 2 as far as I've had a lot of people look at me as far as a type 1. It's like, oh, you got it because you ate too much sugar. It's like, no, I didn't. I mean, I'd like to lose some weight right now, but I was when I got type 1 was as skinny as a rail little kid, and I wasn't eating too much sugar or anything. I came down with this disease, quote unquote, and that was it.
yeah. Yeah, I
So,
remember being out at our cabin and one of my girlfriend's brothers, them rushing him to the hospital and him coming back. And he probably was about that age as well,
mm-hmm.
like, 5 to 9 area. Can't really,
Yep.
but, and he had 1 diabetes as well.
Yep.
So it's funny how it kind of comes on not right away, but pretty early, right? I know my mom
think,
had diabetes too, but
right.
that's older age, and she got a bread maker.
Yep.
Next thing you know, we've got everything from the bakery that you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to a lot of type 1, and I think I'd heard of one that came down with it like 13 months, but otherwise, most of the type 1 people I've talked to, it's like between, like you said, 5 and 9. I think one I met was like 13, 14, but otherwise, it's like 5, 9, that right in that range. Yeah.
I wonder what that is. I wonder what's going on in the body for it to be kind of susceptible at that time,
Or yeah, if with it, why does it take it that long to actually show up? I'm not sure why the
Yeah,
pancreas works, because obviously they don't have it at birth, or you wouldn't live that long
yeah,
if your pancreas was not working. So your pancreas is working somehow for those first 5 years or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question.
yeah. So your socialcafe.com, is that something that you spend much time on? Is that
Um, I was like 6 months ago, but now, I was even thinking about this yesterday. It's like, how do I do 3 podcasts. Mostly I spend my time on the DiabeticReal, and then I have Black Beauty Jag, those 2 podcasts. And then I'm doing this live stream. It's like by the time I do those, the day's done. So I haven't had as much time as I would like to, but I used to run a social cafe, and that was part of Social Web Cafe. I ran a chat every Tuesday. Now we just do it once a month on Saturday. So that's a part of Social Web Cafe, and trying to, the blog posts, things like that. So I still have the brand Social Web Cafe. It's just mostly I'm spending my time over on TikTok, this web cafe. So it's tiktok.com/social web cafe. And I hope to put more of that content that we're producing there on the site so people can find it. So it'll be blog posts with the videos from TikTok.
That's awesome. The other thing that I think is just amazing is this fact that you've really stepped into this talent of yours as a jazz singer. It's awesome. I mean, it was something that
Thank you.
had with you for a lifetime, sounds like, but to really step into it, and you were saying the last 15 years, and then to get album #1 on the charts, like it's really quite something. I'm really blown away by that.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you very much.
so do you want to speak about that at all? About, how that was, that kind of something that with your experiences helped you step into your power doing?
It was always my dream. And when I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up and be a singer. But you're picked up, and, in fact, let me go back. You're talking about family dynamics and things like that. And I have a lot of skills, but one of them that I see is confidence. And even though I won the Arian Award, I mean, I could list all these awards I won as far as singing. So I knew I could sing. That wasn't a question. But having the confidence that I could sing, which are 2 different things. You can know you have a talent, but having the confidence to step up and say, I have this talent. In other words, I'm not a narcissist. I might live with narcissists, but I'm not a narcissist. So having that confidence. My husband struggles with the same thing. And you said earlier, Jackie, as far as going back to that family origin, learning about yourself. And we both had mothers that constantly put us down. Somebody else could do something, and oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's your fault. And you heard that constantly, that, it's my fault. That So I knew that, my brother could knock, not that this happened, but just an example. My brother could knock glass off the counter on the floor, scoot out of the room. I just simply knew that I was going to take the fault. Whether I did or not, I'd take them. That was just how it worked. And so that affected me to this day. I'm trying to figure out, how do I step forward and have the confidence? Now, I can get on stage. I have no stage fright. Zero. But do I have the confidence to go up to somebody and say, I want to sing at your place? And the funny thing, it's like I need somebody else as the promoter to say she can do it, because I have zero stage fright. I know that's just a fact. I don't have any stage fright. I can sing. And I did that NCL on one of the cruise lines. And I came in second on the contest, only because the guy saying, girls just want to have fun. You cannot compete with a guy singing girls just want to have fun. It was a hoot. I love it. But I came in second. That was great. I got the guy the entertainment on the cruise ship gave me a 10, said he'd hire me right there, but I was making more money working in the in the trading. I did not. That's what I was doing. But anyway, so yeah, I always wanted to be a singer, but I didn't have the confidence to step up to somebody and say, you need to hire me as a singer. And so it was great to be able to put that album out and actually see how successful it was. And even now when I'm on TikTok live and I will just start singing and people, it's strange because all of a sudden they stop and I'm thinking, what's wrong? Why is nobody making any comment? And they're like, you are so good. And it's like, wow, how did I just quieted the room because they couldn't say anything while I was singing. And
I love that. Hey, sing for us.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be cocky saying this. I know that I'm good. I just can't know that I'm good in that confidence. That confidence missing. So you're so right. You can go back to childhood and see how, and my husband's also a musician, and that's why we fit. We have similar backgrounds where it's like you get put down so much and you're missing that one piece that you need to go the direction. So I'm really trying to work on myself and rebuild that, if I can figure out how.
Well, I think this hypnosis thing might be the ticket. That's what I'm doing right now with my last podcast guest, and also that Hughes that I told you about, the methylene blue. He talks about hypnosis, and they explain to you the different parts of the brain and why when we're trying to put in the good stuff, it doesn't get past that critical part of the brain unless it's already set in as yeah. So it's like might be something that you want to look into, because I think that it actually is really powerful and it works, and it can actually maybe help us get out of that not enoughness that we all have that going on. It's like our parents had it, and then it's like this roll down, right?
Yep.
Although we can understand that and see that, it still doesn't really fix it, right? Yeah, and so that Annie, she was explaining, you got to get to the root of it. Like if you can get at the root and find out where it originated, that's where it can actually then melt away just naturally. So I like that.
I like that too. I mean, I thought that by defining it, that'd be good. And with my husband, I thought, okay, I'm going to step in and I'm going to actually give you the mothering that you needed when you were a kid, but he's still hearing his mother's voice in his head. And I keep saying, I'm not your mother. I'm trying to give you that confidence, but it doesn't work that way. It's like it's years too late.
Yeah.
So I like what you're saying, that maybe that's the answer as far as trying to
have a look at that podcast. There's some shorts that are out there that I did with her, Annie Alexander, and she's been a doctor for her lifetime, and she's the wisdom, that woman. So, and I think the hypnosis, we always think of the the stage where you don't remember, and it's not like that. You're totally exactly what's happening, and they're just getting you into, I think maybe the theta part of brain, so that we can then accept and release or whatever. Anyway, I've just started on that journey, and I think yeah,
sounds like it.
Yeah. But I think that you really need to have, that right person, like you said, right? Like your support team really needs to be of quality, right?
Definitely. That's what I do attribute. Part of the reason why I'm still alive is because I have a husband that wants me alive. I mean, we were talking about, earlier where it's like, if you were unconscious, well, first of all, he never would have let me get to a point where I'm unconscious, but he also would never have gone off to work and left me unconscious. like that. He says, I've done that. He says, no, I would have drugged me off to the
That's not normal.
whatever.
I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah, to the
anybody.
hospital. He says, there's no way. Or the vomiting. I mean, I never would have even gotten close. And I also have gotten by with not taking insulin on that one. He says, I don't care what you think. I would have taken you to the hospital no matter what. So, and that's part of why I'm still here. He's very, very kind. I'm not trying to paint a picture like he's unkind in any way. He's very, very kind. But that's the thing is and I've been married to for 30 years, and he's very supportive, and he wants me to stay alive. And I have to attribute that, that is a part of staying healthy, is having the right support team. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. And sometimes we need to have those times where we clean out the house, and just because they've been with us for a lifetime, or, we make these stories up about, well, they're so-and-so or their family, or that's not actually, but they say the 5 people that you surround yourself with is who you're going to become like. So have a look at that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And it's not that he's supportive because he's my husband, or it's not about him because he's my husband. He is supportive, and that's why he's around, because he can tell as far as how I'm behaving, what my blood sugar is, and he's very, very, dedicated to keeping me alive. So that's part of the reason why he's still around.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that wonderful? How grateful are you? Yeah.
I'm very grateful to him. So I think that's part of that health. That's very important. I should not be living with my sister.
You should not. Right?
That's safe. So yeah. So I think that's part of the health and part of the balance, but also listening to the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It'd be interesting to be able to release that trauma though as well, right? And it's like, how can it not be, right? That's, I think, the thing where I think that I've decided to do that hypnosis is because that trauma, it's is in there as my story, and then it affects my feeling safe, or you know what I mean, allowing people in. And I don't know. It's
like it's constricting. I feel like it constricts me into this little spot, and I want to be free. I remember times of being completely happy and free. There's been set times, but a lot of times I just feel very constricted. And I think you're right. I think it's based on.
Yeah. Like almost like for myself, like a little bit of isolation as well, for me to find out who's real, like who's in my life, right? And
right.
Yeah. So it's a universal thing that's happened since our COVID experience as well, with the amount of fear and stuff that's coming in there. If people haven't had a trauma, say like you or I have gone through, there's trauma just being in the world today, right?
It's like there's something there, maybe undefined or something. Yeah.
That whole fear of the war, fear of the economy, fear. Everything's fear. And that running on adrenaline of that fight or flight all the time is so unhealthy for us.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought I'm the only one that's like, I have that exactly what you said.
Yeah, and just awareness of that, that I think I lived most of my life in fight or flight. We just don't see ourselves, I think, is the hard thing, right?
I see something like way off that I want to be relaxed and content and joyful, but really just relax, like everything's okay. But I don't know how to get there, because it's exactly described, Jackie. That's where I feel right now.
Yeah, actually, I was just working on that yesterday, because I used to have that as well. And then with my nervous system being just in overdrive, so like I couldn't ground, I couldn't find that place anymore. Here or there, but not like what you're saying, right? Like, it's like, I remember feeling, peaceful, happy.
I have peace, but not this, it's this jumping from place to place. And it's like, okay, I want to have it in a constant state.
Yeah. And that's, I think, all to do with our mind and our thoughts, and the 50, 60,000 thoughts a day that we're having.
Exactly.
How ridiculous that. Anyway, it's been really great chatting with you. Are you,
likewise,
some more, so is there something else that's coming up down? I mean, that's a lot that you got going on there, but.
We're working on it. We actually, we recorded I think I mentioned that. We recorded just a quick song last night that we put on TikTok. I wouldn't say it's top 10 or anything like that. It's just an ad lib, but I want to get it out there.
Album again? It's Albumette.
Albumette.
Yep. And on Spotify and Apple.
And it's on all major places where you buy music or stream music. It's on all of them.
Check that out when I get off of conversation. I'm excited for it.
And you can go to the website Deborah.info. It's not a winning website. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but you can get links there. And there's a couple clips like the NCL, the cruise line, had me do a song I didn't know. It was like, I'm too sexy, whatever it is. So I did ad lib of that one. So there's a video of that on the website, things like that. So
awesome. Good for you. That's awesome. I'm impressed.
I told you, zero stage fright. It's just, put me on stage, I'll perform.
But then you have the confidence, or don't feel that you have the confidence to promote yourself.
Exactly. I could do the online promotion and go out and, promote that way and paste the link and that kind of, but calling up somebody and saying, hey, will you please let me go perform? It's that one. It's the promoter part of it. So that's why it's like, I need to hire a promoter. In fact, if anyone's watching this and they want to be my promoter, contact me. I'll even pay you to be my promoter. It's that level. And people would, if you want to do it on commission, I'll pay you. And you actually, I promise you'll make money off of me, but it's like, I can't go be promoter part of it.
Well, and that's not your job, right? That's the promoter.
Exactly.
So there you go.
So, yeah.
The fact that you get up on stage and sing it and perform, it's quite, that's a gift in itself, right?
I guess so. I don't want to brag, but yeah, I can do it. And I do okay ad-libbing and talking and the little chat before singing and everything. So I have sang the Viper Room on the Sunset Strip. So, I have performed the whole thing. So
that's awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out and sharing your journey and story. And we'll catch up with you again.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thanks. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me about how we can become the best version of ourselves. See you next time.